Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Another illegal pipeline has been discovered beside Shell's Petroleum Focados terminal in Ogulaga community in Burutu local government area of Delta State. According to security reports, the illegal connection, which is over 12 months old, was active before it was destroyed. This is contrary to reports which Shell says it received stating that the line was inactive and so wasn't destroyed. Well, Arise Energy and Business correspondent Oyi Sunday visited the site and filed in this report.
What I'm standing on, the major pipeline you see behind me, is a 48-inch Focados export line. This line takes crude oil out of Nigeria. The oil flowing through this pipe is said to be the best oil any oil thief can lay their hands on because the oil has already been treated. Now, attached to this major pipeline is an illegal connection. A 6-inch pipeline has been connected here. Now, this same pipeline is connected to an abandoned Ajib line. From there, crude oil is pumped into an offshore jacket in the shallow waters. If this pipeline pumps oil for 1 year, the thieves get 1.5 months of production in a whole year. Now, what's mind-boggling about this particular discovery is the fact that just a stone throw away is a security checkpoint. This discovery was made by Tantita Security Services. This illegal connection is exposed at the moment as a result of the drainage of the water that served as a cover. A dam was created on both sides to hold back water in order to achieve this. The 6-inch diameter pipeline carrying refined crude is 1 kilometer to a shoreline and 4 kilometers from the shoreline to an offshore jacket on the sea, which receives the crude for export. The security expert working with Tantita Security Services helps us make sense of what is before us.
Now, what had happened is that if you see this riser behind me, that riser is operated by another joint venture company called Ajib. They're the ones who operate it. They've not been using it. So these illegal fellows, what they tried to do was that this oil field actually belongs to Ajib, and the pipe crude to the Beliboye flow station. So instead of piping crude to the flow station, the smartest boys in the room decided to export crude to that particular jacket you are seeing out there. It's a very bold one, just about 11 o'clock of us. They piped the line into that place by cutting the Ajib's one, connecting theirs, go through this particular riser, the extreme left one, out into that particular jacket that you see. And then at night, the usual thing happens, which is to bring ships close to that particular platform. They connect their flange because they've somehow, somewhere modernized the flange over there to fit into the ships they normally bring in to collect the crude. And off they go from there.
Captain Eniswo says the thieves are smart. He claims that each time refined crude is pumped into the Focados export line, the thieves open their valve, shut the valve when they have had enough, and store the crude for export. That way, a drop in pressure is insignificant. The crime, according to the captain, has gone on for over a year.
We know quite a lot has been happening in this region for some time now. There's no doubt about it, as I'll keep saying. But whoever did this is a very smart civilization. The security may have seen them, nobody knows, and feel that, oh, well, these are part of our general people who are supposed to be here. Because if you look at this facility, how could you come into this place and carry out such an act? It's not an act you could have done in a week. This place was completely underwater. Underwater, same as you see there. We had to build these 2 dams to be able to build the water out for days to get to this point. So the constructors, if I will put it this way, would have equally put in, at the minimum, similar effort to be able to build something like this here. That is my estimate of the situation.
Any idea how long the security checkpoint has been? Shell is not telling me anything.
Well, we don't know how long it has been, but we've seen them here for over a year or so thereabout via satellites and things like that. So we know.
What's confusing about the development is that Shell claims it was aware of the connection in October 2021 and reported to regulators who led an investigation. Shell, however, says it did not disconnect the illegal pipeline because investigators told them the line was inactive.
Okay. So when vessel come, they get control for The bush where they open up.
Yes, they get valve. They get valve for that side. That side.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So if they're on that side,
yes.
they call on here with key. They get their own key. They use the on here.
Okay.
They call put able for here till lap with hose.
Put hose
to load the boots.
Okay.
Yes. And this one how they use. And the valve did this.
Okay.
The successes recorded so far in the fight against oil theft is attributed to the collaborative efforts of private and government security operatives driven by technology.
That NNPC Limited has been on its toes in trying to bring stability to the host community. And the host community has been very helpful in trying to ensure that we secure all oil and gas facilities, especially the one we saw, which has to do with the crude evacuation line.
Using satellite imagery, 2,066 incidences have been identified from April till date. 680 have been fully resolved, which include identification, retrieval of stolen goods, and destruction of illegal refineries and vessels ferrying stolen goods. At the NNPC Command and Control Center, operatives stand by to receive the complaints and communicate their findings to all relevant security agencies to take action. Here in Port Harcourt is one of such hideouts where crude oil loaded in sacks is transferred into this tanker assigned to transport liquefied petroleum gas. Somewhere in Benin, this illegal refinery operates in the open, but not anymore. The momentum is high at the moment. Beyond the use of satellite imagery and local intelligence reports, NNPC has also launched a whistleblower app where members of the public can report illegal activities and get rewarded for it, all in a bid to stop oil theft in the shortest time possible. Onyi Sunday, Arise News.
Well, indeed, the momentum is on to curb oil theft in Nigeria and hopefully bring the culprits to book. Arise business and energy correspondent Onyi Sunday got an exclusive access to the Command and Control Center of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company and gives us a peek into the technology being employed to tackle the menace.
Crude oil theft in Nigeria has been an open secret for a very long time. Now, why no serious action has been taken to curb the menace is what Nigerians are asking. Here at the NNPC Command and Control Center, which became operational in February 2022, the technology employed here has made it easy to identify these oil thieves and apprehend them as well. Now, since installation, taking a look at this board, we can clearly see that about 396 illegal refineries have been identified and deactivated. About 413.6 thousand barrels of crude have also been recovered. Here we see 30.5 million liters of diesel also recovered. Now here 461.8 thousand liters of petrol has also been recovered. Same goes, of course, for kerosene, as we can see here. The records show now all this were achieved between April to date. Taking a look at the next board that we see here, you can clearly see that illegal refineries have been identified with their exact coordinates right here. That is what the screen is showing us at the moment. Now, if you wait a little longer, you will get to see a live picture or live video of these pits spread across in a place called Ahoda in River State. Fascinating image that we see here. The pits are scattered all over. Business is thriving. What we see in most of these sacks are actually sacks of crude oil. Everyone is all part of the business here. The river close by is gone because it's all black. You might actually just call that a crude oil well. Business is thriving, and from what you see, this has been going on for a very long time. Signs of stopping them, well, we're going to have to see how that plays out in the coming months as the government pins their location, sends the information to security operatives, be it from the federal government or private security firms, to walk in there and deactivate this particular business that has been going on for a very long time. On this particular part, we can actually clearly see that you can easily spot the hot zones in this particular area. The red actually, gives us the critical areas here, as we can see. And in these critical areas, we're talking about places where, of course, all sorts are going on at this point. Illegal refineries, illegal connections, equipment vandalism. That's what's probably going on in the areas where you have the red spots. The critical priorities, as they call them, the less critical priorities actually have to do with host community issues. From what this map is showing, straight to coordinate, very easy to find out what's playing out there. Well, I find this particular board quite interesting as it is. It is the Maritime Intelligence System. And now, of course, from this particular board that we see, it allows, of course, for the monitoring of, you might call it Nigeria's exclusive economic zones. Here, it gives us visibility of the terminals located here in Nigeria. Also, of the vessels that come in and out, and which means, of course, if we find any of these vessels that actually come to move crude illegally, it's easily spotted, even when, of course, they turn off their AIS. So even when the automatic identification system is turned off, it's easy for them to pick. Any suspicious movement is also being communicated to security operatives to move in and do the necessary. Vessel to vessel, transfer of crude is also being monitored here. So you see, taking a look at the technology employed here and how easy it is to spot these criminals. Also, when you take into consideration the communication between this room and the necessary security agencies, that question rings through. Why are we not moving in to end the theft once and for all? But the government says in a couple of months, we will find out. Onyi Sunday, Arise News.
Well, I think, that was a brilliant report from Onyi Sunday. I mean, the staggering statistics that she read out, kudos to the NNPC Command and Control Center, which you say, opened up in February. But my issue really is the fact that it just appears that there's so much unanswered questions. I mean, let's just dial back with her first report when she talked about the 6-inch pipeline that was discovered in my state, Delta State, the main, the hot boiling point right now. When we look back and we see that there is like the security officers there watching these people continue to do these types of criminal activities, you cannot help but just think that it is some sort of collusion. First, Shell reported it, and they said that they did an investigation, and it is not an active pipeline. But then the security people are there and seeing that these activities are going on, and all you can say to me is, oh, maybe it was the Ajib workers.
I think absolutely, without a shadow of doubt. Yeah. Oji, this is highly organized and sophisticated thievery. Brilliant report from Onyi Sunday, as usual here. But these questions, they're very valid.
Yeah.
And how much longer do we have to wait, and how long has it been happening for? That's actually a bigger question, because imagine how much money, I can't even fathom, I can't begin to think about it, that have been accumulated over many years. We don't even know how long. It's good to see that, we're getting some sort of technology where we have the hotspots to, try to find ways to attack this. But then again, is that enough? Is that all we're going to need to attack many, many years of this thievery?
Absolutely. My position really is, I like what Onyi Sunday did, showing us how the technology works. But then this is October.
Yes.
The technology has been there since February. And not once have we seen any direct video from the NNPC, showing in detail, what this acquisition was meant for and how it's been working. Maybe after 3 months or after 6 months, demonstrate to us that it was actually, it's been fulfilling its mission. In comparison to what we've seen Aramco, Saudi Arabia's oil company, does every time. And they will tell you, you see it, it's all over the social media, that there's no single drop or a trace of oil that they cannot see, right from their office. And therefore, it takes a second to deal with any infraction. If that is our inspiration in getting this for an NPC, then demonstrate to us that the money is worth it. Otherwise, we will have this giant, big screen that tells people who come around like they are tourists to say, we've got this, looking at, Focados, looking at Delta, your states, looking at Bayelsa, everything. But then, what have you done? Who have you apprehended? We had a guest, last weekend, a former GM, at Chevron, saying to us that this is not a new thing. As far back as 40 years ago,
yes,
he knew he was involved in an operation or something like that, through the helicopter, that showed clearly that the sort of a thing that Tompolo is now discovering has been happening, and that it was reported in the media, but no action was taken.
Yes.
So fast forward to 40 years after, what action will be taken now that Tompolo all of a sudden is discovering,
all of
so
a sudden,
many
very key
all of a
words
sudden.
there. Because why all of a sudden?
Because remember, bear in mind that this same gentleman had the same contract with the administration of Goodluck Jonathan, billions of naira in tow, to look after and safeguard, the oil pipelines. But we didn't see any discoveries at that time. But today we are being told that that particular one that was discovered 2 weeks ago has been in operation for at least 9 years. 9 years will give you at least about 2 years of Jonathan, and then 7.5 years of Buhari administration. Tompolo was there at that time, but we didn't discover it. Okay, so we thank him so much that he has now discovered it. What next? What is NNPC's and Mele Kyari's NNPC going to do about it? Are we going to come back in December and remind ourselves that in October we said so, that one, NNPC has not demonstrated to us how this technology will work, and if it has caught any thief? And
well,
secondly,
I guess that is the main point, if it has caught any thief. But the thing is, there are those statistics that only read out. I mean, I guess the visuals are there as well. I just think that they need to come out and talk more about their discoveries at this point. I guess that's the point that you're trying to make.
Apprehend people and show them.
That's part of the point.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's part of the point.
That's the point you're making. But I mean, I think that, the momentum is on. I think we have to continue on this conversation for as long as we can. Otherwise, there's nothing. It was last week we did talk to this man who says there's no way that the government is putting a timeline of 9 years to this oil theft. There's no way it's 9 years. 40 years and more he was putting a time. He was putting
let's even assume that it's 9 years. Who determined that? Is it by the age of the connection to the pipeline, or just a wild guess, a mere assumption that was 9 years ago? They
should reveal their investigation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And my point is that it is obvious, of course, that the heat is on, which is good. Okay, we agree that, no arrest has been made, no person has been declared wanted. But then once you are making all these discoveries and you are blocking holes, what it means, therefore, because we pump crude, every month. What Nigerians will need to know is that by the end of October, has there been an improvement in what you have done, since you have leaked, you have nicked some things in the boat, you have blocked some holes? Have we moved from 1.6 million barrels, for example, to say 2 million barrels, even if OPEC says, yes, you can sell or pump more than 1.6 at this time, because we were not even meeting our OPEC quota. So on a monthly basis, part of the deal should be that, yes, we have blocked these holes, and this is what it means to the Nigerian people, without giving Nigerians such clear messages. Statistically speaking, it will just be a mere rhetoric for me.
And of course, apprehending, I'm still sticking to that, and scapegoating people, because until you scapegoat people, there's no lesson here.
It's the loss.
It's just going to carry on.
You just have to make arrest and show that you are serious about it. But guess what? Why that might be difficult? Like one of the presidential candidates said, and one, a very high-up bank chairman said, it is not a small thief that will be in this game. listen to what that fellow in the video said. That's a sophisticated
Yes.
thing. So the people that we are dealing with are in the very upper class elite, possibly government league.
Yes.
And you will just have to show them, demonstrate commitment, that you are serious about what you're doing. And beautiful that we will have a guest, in a short while who will, shed more light on this. But the point is that, and I'm aware of a number of investigative media reports saying that, listen, there are traces of all these oil thefts to the very high offices of the same people who are supposed to be safeguarding them. That is just the point.
For a very, very long time.
That is just the point.
That's the point.
I mean, we have the whistleblower app as well, so.
Okay, let's see how that. Let's see the type of thieves that it will catch. Remember, at the beginning of this administration, there was also the whistleblower thing for politicians. After about 6 months,
that also fizzled out.
No more whistles to blow, or people are no longer stealing, or what?
I was proud of the military, though, when they, burnt down that Ghana-bound vessel that was exporting oil. I think that was a good win for Nigeria. I mean, for the NNPC and for the federal government. Yes, absolutely.
The Mauritania.
No, the Ghana-based one it was called Jemai or something like that. I forget the name of the vessel. It had different names, but it had I believe 650 tons of oil, and then it got exploded last week. But yeah, kudos to them for that.